Live. Good evening. Hey. My name is David Miller. I've been a patient at Diverse Health Services for 18 years. And I remember the original lecture that Dr. Tent did back, but I have the original one on a cassette tape. Kill the Cravings, America's Mineral Crisis. He reported on some exciting things back then, and tonight is an update on that. Tonight we have Dr. Jeff Senechal, graduate of Life University, been practicing medicine, working with Dr. Tent. For the last 5 months that I know of, he has been doing research on this particular lecture. And he asked me yesterday to do this introduction. To give you a background on me, I'm an agricultural science teacher. And I train students to become veterinarians and also plant and horticulturalists. And I've been working with trace minerals for the last 10 years at the high school level. My students grow chickens for a state broiler improvement project that Michigan State University has. And for the last 10 years, we've been putting minerals in their feed and their water. Well, of this state contest, there's 300 entries statewide. In the last 10 years, we've won fourth twice, second twice, first place 6 times. Okay? And that's because we've been putting trace minerals in their water and their food. The last 4 years, I've also been working with another gentleman, Dr. Joel Wallach. I happened to meet him and show him some of the research we've been doing with the chickens. He's the original mineral doctor. He's been talking about this for 40 years. And January 3rd, we had him here in Michigan, and I invited Dr. Jeff down because I thought it would help him with his lecture. And he got to meet Dr. Wallach and also his wife, and sat through a 3.5-hour lecture with him, which is a real religious experience, let me tell you. And they got along real well. And one of the things that Dr. Wallach did, because he wanted Jeff to be able to use some of his research in this, and you'll see some of this, is he has donated to each and every one of you a current Best of Dead Doctors Don't Lie CD, which will be available in the back of the room for you as you exit. So without further ado, actually, one more thing. Hippocrates, father of medicine. Everyone has a doctor in him or her. We just have to help it in its work. The natural healing force within each one of us is the greatest force in getting well. Our food should be our medicine. Our medicine should be our food. But Hippocrates never foresaw the current agriculture system we have here in the United States, where we monocrop everything, and we'll have acres and acres and acres of corn, and we'll put corn in, and sometimes we'll rotate soybeans. All depends what the price is and what the subsidy is from the government. Well, we're down, like in Washtenaw County, where I live, we're down to about 15 minerals in the soil. We put nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium back in, that's it, because farmers are paid on yield, not on nutrient density per bushel. Okay? So they're not interested in what's in the corn, what's in the wheat. They just want volume and weight. Bushels. They're paid by the bushel, and that's it. So they don't put all these other things on there. Okay? So it's not in the, it's like a checkbook, you know. You're right, we need 60 minerals a day. Dr. Jeff's going to talk about that. And you write a checkbook every day for 60 bucks. But you're only putting $3 a day back in your checkbook, N, P, and K. Eventually, what happens to your checkbook? That's what's happening to our soils, and that's what's happening to our agriculture. And as a result, we're producing food that looks like food, but it's very empty. And tonight, what you'll learn tonight will probably add 10 to 15 years to your life. And without further ado, Dr. Jeff Senechal.
Dr. Weston Price was a dentist and dental researcher whose search for the causes of physical degeneration and dental decay took him all over the world to live with and investigate the diets of those traditional native populations who were pictures of exceptional health. This included the Swiss, Eskimos, Polynesians, Africans, New Zealanders, and many others, but always in remote tribal communities which had remained on their traditional diets as they were still far removed from industrialized society and modern refined foods. He found that these populations continued to exhibit perfect physical and dental health into old age, and he wrote about the traditional foods that they consumed, which kept them in such fabulous condition. His book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, which the Foundation continues to publish and sell every year, is still the only book of its kind, and his research is still being quoted at current scientific, medical, and nutritional conferences around the world.
What made these people so healthy? Why is it that they didn't have the degenerative diseases that we have today? And there are many reasons, of course. But again, getting back to whole foods, and regardless of what kind of diet one has, because Price's peoples were all different in terms of their diet, depending on where they lived, what the climate was, what kind of soil, for example. But the underlying unifying factor with all of them was that they were not eating refined, revitalized foods. They were eating foods which were grown in the area in which they lived, which meant they ate foods that were seasonally ready to eat.
When Dr. Price began his travels back in the 1930s, he found degenerative disease was on the rise back then.
Price looked upon the mouth, being a dentist, of course, he looked upon the mouth as being the window to the rest of the body. And because teeth were more readily accessible and easier to photograph and spot, he obviously emphasized that in his pictures. Most of Price's pictures are people with their mouth open for that very reason. But that was only the tip of the iceberg, because the high incidence of cavities was indicative not only of just poor oral health, but it was indicative of overall skeletal health and overall body health as well. Price took the foods that the societies he investigated back to his laboratory. He had samples sent back there and he analyzed them. And he found, for example, that the food values in those foods in many of the very important nutrients, such as omega-3 fatty acids, which are, as you know, finally being, quote, rediscovered, unquote, almost 10 times higher than what we have in today's diet. Our diets today are very high in omega-6s, which come primarily from grains and grain seed oils. It's a total reversal of the balance between omega-3s and 6s that Price's peoples had.
Dr. Francis Marion Pottinger Jr. was a medical doctor who was best known for his famous 10-year nutritional feeding study that he carried out with many hundreds of cats. The cats were divided into different groups where they were fed either cooked or raw animal-based foods, such as cooked meat versus raw meat, cooked or rather pasteurized dairy versus raw dairy. And the study describes in detail all of the physical and emotional problems which developed in the cooked diet animals but never occurred in those on the healthy raw foods. The cooked diet cats never even got past the third generation, since they lost fertility and the ability to reproduce. Just as today, we have more and more clinics specializing in using drugs to help people who have become unable to give birth to children. The study, and the book we sell which describes it, still stands alone in its ability to show the effects of consuming denatured foods as the population currently does at every meal.
Pottinger found that 30% raw and 70% cooked didn't fly. It wouldn't maintain health. But 50-50, he still felt you could get along.
Those cats fed on a 100% raw diet thrived. The third generation looked just as healthy as the first generation. That's all documented in the Pottinger book called Pottinger's Cats.
Pottinger found with the cats the same types of degeneration from the impoverished food, or the, in his case, cooked food as well, that Price saw where the trading posts and modern people coming in to help the primitives were destroying them.
The fascinating thing about the Pottinger cat studies is that in many ways they tie in with some of Dr. Price's research. Pottinger found that in the three groups of cats, which he isolated and fed diets ranging from all raw to 1/3 raw and 2/3 cooked exhibited certain skeletal changes over the generations of the cats. The groups that were fed more of the cooked diet and less proportionally of the raw diet started developing and showed skeletal deformities primarily in the skull itself. And this is interesting because Price found the same thing with the primitive groups that he visited. When they had gone on refined foods, he also noticed, and you'll see the pictures in his book, Nutritional and Physical Degeneration, the narrowing of the jaw, the lifting of the upper palate, and the crowding of the teeth, which shows that the diet for cats that were fed the more proportions of the cooked food was not proper for that particular kind of animal. They weren't getting some of the nutrients that were needed to build proper skeletal shapes. And it was the same thing with the peoples. Now, when one looks around today, we can see a lot of evidence of the kind of diets that we have degenerated into as a society to a greater or lesser extent. And those reflect back again on what Price was talking about, and that is the more food that we use that is displacing those foods that have nutrient value, the more we are likely to be prone to things like osteoporosis and skeletal deformities and cavities in the teeth, things of that nature.
Good. All right, Dr. Weston Price right there. He's the grandfather of all this nutritional stuff here. Always saying that if it's not raised or grown, it's not real food. He's absolutely right. If it's not raised or grown, it's not real food. But today, there's no minerals in the soil, so now if it's even raised, there's no minerals in it, so we're all becoming mineral deficient, and I got a great lecture showing a ton of the stuff here tonight. That was his book right here, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration right here, if you want to look any of that up there. These are some of the pictures that were shown there in a page in his books. He studied third world countries and all the degeneration just looking at their teeth and could tell nutrition through teeth. People that got good nutrition had good dental alignment, and vice versa, bad nutrition, crowding, dental decay, and all those other types of issues. What do they do here in America? Water fluoridation. They don't treat it like a nutritional issue. They say it's a fluoride deficiency. Let's put fluoride in everyone's water and try to prevent this dental decay issue. No, it's not a fluoride issue. It's bad nutrition. The CDC and American Dental Association, new study, these here, associated finds once again that contrary to what most people have been told, fluoride is actually bad for your teeth. How long have we been telling you that there? Exposure to high levels of fluoride results in a condition known as fluorosis, in which tooth enamel becomes discolored. The condition can eventually lead to badly damaged teeth. A new study found that fluoride intake during a child's first few years of life is significantly associated with fluorosis and warned against using fluoridated water in infant formula. Makes your bones more brittle and it turns off your thyroid. This is what fluorosis looks like in a child. It's hard to see here, but these little white chalky spots here, chalky white teeth patches, yellow stained teeth, brown stained, discolored teeth, weak teeth. That is fluorosis in someone right there. Weakens your bones and turns off your thyroid. Chlorine, fluoride, bromide all turn off your thyroid there. I'm going to talk about a little bit more of this iodine deficiency in the north because it's affecting us in the north here. Dr. Royal Lee, even though his name is known to only a small number of Americans, Dr. Royal Lee was a researcher, inventor, scientist, scholar, statesman, businessman, and down here, not too many people have known, he graduated in Milwaukee, where he was graduated from dental school in 1924. It was right on the same lines of Dr. Weston Price in his dental research work in nutrition and looking at people's teeth. He saw this, these guys were ahead of their time. Absolutely ahead of their time. Dr. Tennant will be having his next lecture, The 17 Causes of Heart Disease and Beyond Lipitor, Wednesday, April 13th. Same place here. I'll be having a Balancing Body Chemistry Through Blood Work lecture. Same place right here, May 11, 2011. There will be some blood work you could get done in spring for about $25 at a church. I recommend getting that blood work done and bringing it here. I'm going to go over some very cool cases with the cholesterol, the triglycerides, your glucose, all kinds of cool things with that there. That'll be somewhere in the spring. Last year it was in March, mid-March. If you sign up on the newsletter, you can sign up through the email here, dhschiropractic@yahoo, or you could sign up at the office there. You'll be the first to know when that blood work is, and also we'll have that at the office too, so keep that in mind. We are on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook too. Linking autism and the MMR shot, conclusively false. The original research that connected autism to a childhood vaccine was deliberately falsified, says the British Medical Journal. Will this finally silence the debate? No, it will not. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the media, what they say, I don't care what the journal says here. Do your own research. I'm going to be talking about this in the next newsletter here, specifically what I've shown in previous lectures. This is up here for the videotaping purposes. You can YouTube Dr. Andrew Molden and watch the 3 10-minute videos labeled Tolerance Lost. He's a medical doctor, PhD. He's got 21 years of education in neurology. Dr. Tent and I saw him down in Northville. Absolutely astonishing what he showed us. Absolutely mind-blowing. This is just some of the stuff that he showed right here. He's saying that these vaccines are causing mini strokes in the brains of kids, and he could absolutely tell you in what part of their brain that they had a stroke at by their facial symmetry. He compares one side of their face to the other. If an eye's looking out this way, or if our lips drooping this way, he'll tell you exactly what part of that brain stem or where at in that brain you threw a clot. Absolutely amazing. Watch those 3-minute videos. I've not had one mom in the office with an autistic child where I was like, what shot did it? Boom. They'll tell me exactly what shot did it, and they don't vaccinate the rest of their children. Do the research. Don't listen to the media. Don't follow the herd. This is hard to see here, but this is CDC mandatory vaccine schedule 1983 versus 2010. 1983, the total was 10 shots. Today, 2010, 36 to 38, and I still think that's kind of low. This is not rocket science. Look at that. Look at this. 1990, the rate of autism was 1 in 10,000. Today it's 1 in 100. People want to ask, where did this all come from? What happened? Well, let's just look a little bit at some of these charts. This is ridiculous here. Just do a small amount of research, and you might be scared about what you find. Grounding. Throughout time, we humans have strolled, sat, stood, and slept on the ground, the skin of our bodies touching the skin of the earth, obviously to the fact that such physical contact transfers natural electricity to the body through the ground. I'm going to talk a little about some of this EMF stuff. I wear a little Q-link here. I started wearing this when I started working at the hospital. Not too many people understand about this grounding and this EMF effect that it's having on our bodies today. We're walking human antennas. I'm connected, all this electricity's hitting me, the lights and everything. A simple way of showing you what EMF does to the body here. You take a cell, You got a body, and you got cells spaced out accordingly under EMF stress, electromagnetic fields. Those cells bunch up closer. A Q-link like I'm wearing under EMF stress keeps you looking more like that versus here. Grounding discharges the electricity out of your body through your feet there. We've had patients with blood counts, specifically platelet counts that are through the roof and are very active and electrical patients, and they report when I try to go to sleep at night, I feel like I'm buzzing. They could tell that they're charged up. More and more research and literature is coming out that 30 minutes of cell phone use is linked to brain tumors. We've seen some more brain tumors in the office. This is kind of a scary thing. 3 things are going to whack people with these brain tumors today. EMF, the polio cube, the SV-40 virus in the past, some of those vaccines, and this aspartame. Aspartame's in everything. You want to look up side effects of aspartame? That might scare you. You can't find chewing gum today that's all sugar unless you really try to search hard, and I haven't been able to find any. Chiclets? All right, there we go. We've had some patients in the office doing this HCG diet. This one's through Celeste Natural here. We got Progressive Laboratories in the office. People who want to lose some serious weight. We've got patients losing 1 pound to 2 pounds a day. This is very, very cool. It's a 500-calorie day diet. It's very strict. Instead of doing the original Dr. Simeon's diet where you're doing injectables in your blood system, you're using a homeopathic version of that. Kind of rewires and sets your metabolism better. And in the office, you could get the whole setup for $50 with the drops and the booklet, and you're not blowing a ton of money on eating all these and buying all these crazy foods because you're only eating 500 calories, which is about a handful of food. But after a week of doing that, your appetite kind of shuts off. It's kind of cool. Had a patient in yesterday. She said she dropped 14 pounds in 1 week doing this. Got one of the back girls in our office doing this right now. If you ask Kelly about it, she's doing that. Ask around. It's very, very cool. We're very impressed with the results we're getting with that. That was just a little follow-up to my weight loss lecture. And for those of you who thought Killing the Cravings was a weight loss thing tonight. Cryoderm. For you guys that like the biofreeze stuff, we got some of this in the office here now. That's kind of cool. Cryoderm's just another topical thing, you know, just like biofreeze and Bengay and what's the other? That one, all that fun stuff. Just don't scratch yourself in your private parts when you put that on your hand. That might hurt. Here's a case study. 35-year-old male, patient having difficulty putting thoughts together and also issues with memory. On and off for years, patient complains of weak digestion. Eats a high-protein diet. This is one of our organic eaters. Put them on 5-betaine hydrochloric acid. Digestion starts in your stomach. There's a lot of issues with hypochlorhydria, which I'll talk about here in a second. This is his hair analysis. This is mercury up through here. You can't really see it, but right here is the green line, and he's right in the yellow. Yellow's right here and right there. The red zone's right through here. His mercury's all the way through here. And you go just a little bit further down. This is his digestion. This is you want to know how well nourished you are and how full of minerals you are? Do a hair analysis. It runs about $90. And I tell you what, I ran one last year and I was shocked what I saw. You see my hair analysis? My heavy metals are fine. This is what my stomach looks like. This is a complete dead stomach here. No acid in his stomach. He's not absorbing his minerals, starving and eating foods and yet starving himself. He's got a dead stomach and he's full of mercury. That's why he cannot think. We've got a guy from the Channel 7 News in our office right now. He's got a tremor just like that, And then at the news, when you're watching him, he puts his hands on things so you can't see that tremor. He's got the most dead look in his eye from having a flu shot every single year. His mercury, if I went back one, was just a bit higher than that guy's. He's full of viruses. He's got the most scared look in his eyes. In his late 50s, he's got a flu shot every year since he was 1 year old, and peddling this crap across the media. Now he doesn't say a thing about it anymore. He's very scared about his health, what had stunned him. He's got himself in a mess. Symptoms of hypochlorhydria, simple term for lack of hydrochloric acid. Bad breath, fullness after eating, belching, flatulence immediately after meals, diarrhea, constipation, multiple food allergies. This is very interesting. Multiple food allergies, because the definition of an allergen is an undigested protein. What do you need to digest protein? More acid. We're always telling patients, you're too alkaline, you need more acid, that cal-amyl, the betaine hydrochloric acid. You need that acid to digest those proteins. Bloating, burning in your stomach, indigestion, nausea, and the fancy term GERD. When everyone's getting this acid reflux in their stomach, you're not breaking down your foods. Carbohydrates that ferment in your stomach, proteins that putrefy in your stomach, because you're not breaking down your foods. Those acids of rotting foods are the ones that come back up on you and give you that acid reflux. It's not your over acid. If you want to do a simple acid test, you could take apple cider vinegar. I'll have it on this one, do it. Apple cider vinegar, take a swig of that on an empty stomach. If that makes your stomach hurt, then you have some type of gastritis or ulcer in your stomach. But if it relieves your indigestion, you need more acid. Simple as that. People taking antacids, Nexium, Tums, Prilosec, Protonix, Tagamet, Zagtag, whatever you want to call it, these are all turning off your stomach. These people are completely blocking their digestion of minerals. Have some pop with your meals. That carbonate blocks your absorption of minerals with that there too. Also strips the calcium from your bones. You know how many people are on this stuff? Every stomach ache that comes in our office, oh, I went to my doctor. He said I had GERD, so he just put me on Prilosec. Everyone's on this stuff. You know who's going to be the worst on this? Anyone who's got the littlest, slightest growth of cancer in their body. Put them on some of this stuff here, and it's going to spur that cancer growth, because you block that P450 cytochrome in your liver, and you spur that cancer growth. That and antihistamines all work the same with blocking up that liver. Have some drinks on that there too. You'll be a lightweight. I want to talk about vitamin C and zinc real quick. You get a lot of calls at the office. Oh, Dr. Jeff, what should I take for this? What should I take for that? This year I got sick with 2 colds, probably because I didn't start my vitamin D a little sooner than what I should have. I absolutely pound vitamin C when I get sick. You want to know how hard I play that when I first get a cold? I play about 30 a day, hourly. I do about 3 zinc on top of that. I will stomp that cold before it goes any further. I do that for about 3-4 days, and I absolutely stomp that. A lot of people, should I grab this? Should I grab that? What should I play for this? You don't know? Play the vitamin C. Vitamin C absolutely rocks a ton of things here. It's a cool little secret. And this guy right here, Dr. Linus Pauling, is the main guy about talking about vitamin C. This is where all that high doses of vitamin C came from, was this guy right here. This wouldn't show up that good. Real vitamin C. You know, we got people coming in, oh, I'm taking 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C. You look at the back of it. No, it's 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid. That's just the outer shell of vitamin C. You're getting the egg shell. You want the whole egg. That's where the whole foods come in through standard process. You want the tyrosine, you want the P, the K, the J factors, the bioflavonoids, and the ascorbic acid there. You could play vitamin C until you have loose bowel movements, then you back off. Simple as that. You could play that very hard, and when I did 30 a day, I did not have that bowel issue, and I absolutely stomped those little colds like nothing. So I've been seeing a lot of nasty upper respiratory infections in this office here lately here too. The FDA is now pushing to outlaw a form of vitamin C. The FDA has just notified one pharmacy that it will no longer allow it to manufacture or distribute injectable vitamin C, despite its remarkable power in heal conditions. that conventional medicine cannot touch. This is again, they're trying to get their hands on things at work and just take it away from us. Absolutely. Dr. Linus Pauling, here we go. Pay attention to this. Without minerals, vitamins are useless. Without minerals, vitamins are useless. Minerals are required to activate vitamins, amino acids, enzymes, and hormones. When an amino acid is broken down to a small structure, you will find that it is a mineral-based. Enzyme formation also requires minerals such as zinc, chromium, iron, copper, and magnesium. Calcium, or manganese, magnesium, manganese, more M things here. Phosphorus are the minerals that are the base of our skeletal system. Without minerals, all that's worthless. That's going to catch up here. Just keep playing along here. Here we go. We have never needed minerals as badly as we do now as a result of depleted soils from modern farming techniques, while the modern farms to maximize yields is done at the expense of our soil and is stripped of its minerals and important microbes and bacteria that's in the soil there that have helped new mineral production are killed off. I'm going to show a little clip from a movie called Dirt on that very shortly. What are minerals? Well, here's your periodic chart right here. These are all minerals right here. These are what you need to obtain in your diet because your body does not manufacture them. We'll be talking about these 91 things here very shortly. Case study. I got to talk about 3 very, very, very cool cases in this last month. 33-year-old female presents migraine headaches, always had them on the left side of the head and starts on the back of the head. Patient was hospitalized Sunday. They only gave her pain medications. The durations of the headaches were 3 months, but the severe ones 3 months, but she's had them their entire life. I cranked her atlas on the left side, hit it on the right, pulled her head on the extensilizer. 2 weeks later, she comes back amazed. Hasn't had a migraine since the adjustment, been going to chiropractors my whole life and felt great after her first visit. Has never been migraine-free. Canceled her appointment with her neurologist. She was scheduled to have an MRI that day. That's how bad her headaches were. 1 adjustment. She's been to chiropractors her entire life. Very cool. That was 1. Headaches right there. I'm going to show you how we test all this kind of stuff at the office. This was very cool. This was very recent. This pertains to you over here. 66-year-old female, present complaint, diagnosed with MS. Patient has extreme fatigue and feet tingling on and off. Patient drags feet when walking. MRI showed lesions in the brain and neck. 0 vaccine since childhood. Durations for years. This was recently diagnosed last month, December 8th. I cranked her atlas in place on the right side. I did some extra stuff because she had Epstein-Barr virus attacking her liver. Her friends are here tonight, but she's not here. She followed up with a visit last week. Her strengths, complete 180. Complete 180. Strengths coming back. She was sleeping so much. Sleep for 10 hours, wake up for an hour, be fatigued after walking around for 10, 15 minutes and want to go back to bed. I'll show you how I tested that. That was case 2. That was very cool, and that was very recent. The next one on here is that's not it. The next one I was going to talk about here. I had a mom bring her daughter to me. She was in her late 20s. She's like freaking out. She's like, I think my daughter had a stroke. Her whole left side of her body's completely weak, and her lips dangling like this when we were talking to her. Look back, I was like, wow. I'm like, eesh, this is kind of scary. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Alicia, come up here. I want to show you how we test this stuff here real quickly. Cigarette. And grab a simple multivitamin. It's all muscle testing. Muscle testing will tell you everything here. Multivitamin. Put that in the patient's hand. Hold that tight. Arms strong. Should check strong for a multivitamin. Go to the cigarette in the hand. Hold that tight, hold tight. Weak with the cigarette. Strong with the multivitamin, weak with the cigarette. When you know they're testable, you muscle test them afterwards. You could go through the reflexes in a chart, but most of these things were mechanical things. Turn the patient around here. Go right here, right under, above the skull. Occiput strong, occiput strong. Negative, positive on the atlas. And then the first patient, the migraine headaches, it was her left side, went negative, weak on negative. Negative on the right side was strong, negative on the left side was weak. I put her on the table. Her left arm was completely weak. I pushed on her left leg was completely weak. Cranked her atlas in place, pulled her head on an extensilizer, and to know if you got it back, nerves innervate muscle, so you gotta know if you got the muscle strength back. I checked her leg, the leg was strong, the arm was strong. That was just with the headaches one. That was very cool. Second patient, the MS patient that came in, fatigue. The three most dog fatigue infections we're gonna see in the office, mono, EBV, cytomegalovirus, those liver viruses will absolutely kill you. Staph infection, number 2, and a fungal yeast issue, 3rd. Those are the dog fatiguing infections. Her atlas was stuck on the right. Checked her right side was completely weak. Muscle test with the other arm, atlas here, atlas there. Her atlas was out on the right, but I had to check her out nutritionally. I'm like, all right, what is causing this fatigue on you? Apple, cigarette, testable, arm weak with the cigarette. 1 infection, strong. 2nd infection, strong. If I want to go right to the dog fatigue infections, let's go staph, fungal yeast, belly button, right to the liver. Weak on the liver. Grab my mono stuff, my EBV. They'll call this chronic fatigue syndrome. They'll call this fibromyalgia. They call it something stupid. About time we get most of these patients, they're on sleep medication because they can't sleep at night. They're full of pain medications because they got all kinds of pain. They've been in pain for so long that they're on all these antidepressants. About the time they come to us, they want to kill us. And we didn't even do anything to them. Mono stuff, this is how we confirm it. You got to reverse that reflux. So if that reflux was weak, when I was muscle testing it, whatever reverses that reflux, strong, I could say positively, that's that mono in that liver there. Now the girl who came in thought she had a stroke. This was very scary. I took this very serious. There's 2 carotid artery reflexes. Someone had a real stroke and I've cleared blood clots out of people's legs. One of these 2 reflexes are going to be active. First thing I went to was her carotid artery reflexes, strong, and I couldn't even use her left arm because it was so dead. I was like, oh my gosh. I went right to the right arm. I go carotid artery reflex, strong. Next one, strong. Negative, positive atlas. Negative, weak on the atlas. So I knew that was taking out that side of her body. Her leg was weak. Her arm was weak, but this drooping of the lip doesn't make sense. I'm like, all right, so I got to check some things. The virus reflex was completely active. Negative, positive, check around for the virus. She had a virus in her facial nerve attacking it, so she's talking like this. We'll get patients with trigeminal neuralgia, that facial pain, that's a virus in that nerve. People with numbness in their nose, numbness in their tongues, it's all where the virus lands. It's very interesting, but I kept double checking, because man, if I was not confident with that testing, I was like, geez, you look like you had a stroke. It was unbelievable. You could have a seat, thanks. Some very cool stuff, and that was all just in the last month here. And if you want to know why we get some cool results with this atlas stuff, if you look at the size of your thumb, that's about the size of your brain stem here. Your brain stem, you got your brain that sits right here. It goes down right into your brain stem here, which is about the thickness of your thumb. And as it goes below the level C2, it's about as thin, goes into your spinal cord, which is about as thick as your pinky. So up top is about as thick as your thumb. So if that atlas gets wedged, it presses on that brainstem. 3 different atlas cases, Same adjustment, all three completely different presentations. Very interesting stuff. There's 3 essentials of life: air, water, and food. I'm going to show you how we're all getting whacked. USA agency, our U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the air we breathe in many U.S. cities is being polluted by activities such as driving cars, trucks, burning coal, oil, fossil fuels, and manufacturing chemicals. A ton of chemicals, thousands of chemicals being produced every single year. When I lived down in Atlanta, they said that living in a 20-minute radius of Atlanta is like smoking a pack of cigarettes every day. There's a clip here I've showed at previous lectures. Some of you are familiar with this here. The disappearing male. It's a 44-minute video that you could Google and check this out and see how this stuff's affecting. I'll give you a little summary of it right here. It's a 44-minute video that puts the whole estrogen thing into perspective. There's a decrease in male population worldwide, fertility problems, the xenoestrogen, exogenous estrogen, false estrogens get in people's systems, wreaking havoc on their endocrine systems. This is why we're huge on clearing this crap out of our system. Using your green food, your cruciferous complete, your nitrogreens, your Vitanox. This is affecting everyone at every age range. Every age range. The older women, this exogenous estrogen is going to get in your system, attack your breasts with breast cancer. Guys, it's going to attack your prostate with prostate cancer. Guys my age, infertility is going through the roof. Sperm counts are abnormal. There's more females being born than males. The fish in the lakes of Michigan, the male bass have been found to have female organs in them. This video shows alligators in the swamps of Florida where pesticides are leaking in there, and it's getting into the alligators' ecosystem there. The alligators are smaller in size, smaller toolkits, not reproducing as much. The video is a Canadian video, and there's enough statistical evidence around this Canadian town where they're putting all this pollution in the air around this specific power plant. There's more females being born than males that they're contributing to this power plant. This is huge. We don't preach keeping your detox pathways open for nothing, because this is in everything. And I'll get into this pesticides and all. You want to clear the pesticides, the chemicals, the perfumes, all that stuff. The air, you could watch YouTube. What in the world are they spraying? I'm not going to get into any conspiracy theories or anything like that, but the point and reason that I bring this up here is when they did studies of what's in these clouds, it's a high level of aluminum. There's barium and strontium in there. And when I watch this, when this stuff's in the air and it finally comes down, it changes the pH in the soil. The pH in the soil needs to be about 4.5 to 6.0 for optimal living environments for the bacteria and the things in the soil here. These chemtrails, when they leak down, raise that pH in too much of an alkaline condition, 6.8, where things don't thrive, and this runoff of aluminum out west gets into waters, and people are drinking this stuff. So this is just more ways how we're getting whacked here. Let's talk about water here. Is water the new oil? Are we running out of good water here? The Great Lakes is a great source, and probably some of the good last resource of water here. Sprawling population, drought, patterns of waste. This is from CNN here. I'll talk a little bit more about this here in a second here. Here's a little statistic about the water here. The Earth is 70% water. Only 3% of it's fit for human consumption. Of that 2/3, 3% is frozen, leaving us with 1% available to consume. The other 97% is left as salt water. Not too much when you really think about it. I'm going to talk a little bit about waters because I really get those night cramps. This is some of the simplest things to fix right here. The waters that will make you cramp: well water, tap water, bottled spring water. Alkaline water may also make you cramp. These waters have too much inorganic calcium in it that you're not going to break down. If it builds up in your joints, it's going to make you stiff as a board. If it gets in your muscles, it's going to make you cramp at night. The phosphorus here, phospho liquid, do 2 to 3 droppers full of some juice, binds with that calcium, pulls that out of there, and gets that stiffness out of there. We've had patients in the office where they had to peel their fingers back because they cramped so bad. Well water, tap water, bottled spring. Alkaline water tweaks your pH. If you're too alkaline, calcium goes into solution, then makes you stiff and makes you cramp. That's what the whole alkaline stuff. Everyone's got dead stomachs and they're trying to make us drink alkaline water. That's not going to work. What's in a tap water? There's only 91 contaminants are regulated by the Safe Drinking Water Act, yet more than 60,000 chemicals are used within the United States according to the Environmental Protection Agency here. And 1,000 new chemicals are made every single year here. Let's see if there's breast cancer. So what's in some of the water here? Fluoride, bisphenol A, that's your estrogen chemical right there. Medications, I've talked about that before. Medications in all these waters here. Fertilizers, arsenic, lead, pesticides, uranium. I don't trust them cleaning my water. I'll tell you what we use here. This was back in May. This was just this year. High lead levels hurt learning for Detroit public school kids here. They've correlated the low MEEP scores of these kids in Detroit, not due to the educational teachers down there, due to the lead that's all in the water down there. I was going to show you a map here in a second. More than half the students tested in Detroit public schools having a history of lead poisoning, which affects brain function for life, according to data compiled by city health and educational officials. How are you going to know if you got this lead in your system? Lead makes you feel dumb. Run a hair analysis. Bring it in the office. I'll go over that. It's very easy to fine-tune you. If we have to chelate metals out of you, or kind of fine-tune your minerals. This is hard to see here, but this is Detroit. All this area here in red is all the lead level. It's all in Detroit. Everyone drinking tap water down there is absolutely getting whacked. It's very interesting because I had a guy who teaches some special learning down in all across Michigan, and I asked him, I'm like, so where's the trouble areas? You know, he's like Flint, Detroit, here and there. I was like, and I told him about this whole lead thing. He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I never thought about that. We had a 7-year-old girl going to the dollar store getting those little dollar lipsticks. Her lead level was through the roof on her hair analysis. I could tell you right now from going over these hair analyses with all these patients, 2 out of 10 patients come back with a clean hair analysis. Everyone's getting whacked. Everybody. When your body's low on minerals, you suck up the environment. Metals replace minerals in the body. What do I drink? Well, I'm going to go to the most economical but the least effective. A Brita system, Shackley system. This one claims to take out lead. This does more for taste than it really does pulling most things out. We're going to recommend a reverse osmosis system. That's your most effective and most economical thing if you want to clean up your drinking water there. Let's see. If you want to go with the Cadillac, the Kinetico water systems, the whole system for the house there, that's your system you want to get if you want to go all out there. Stay away from distilled water. Distilled water has no mineral content to it. Drink it long term, it'll leach the minerals out of you. So what's wrong with our food? All right, this is a small list. Genetically modified foods, nothing's real today. It's not nutrient dense. That's going to be Mr. Wallach stuff here. Herbicides, fungicides, and everything's full of hormones. Here's our daily protocol that we use at the office. This is what we recommend for our patients. 6 Catalin, that's our multivitamin. 2 multimins, that's your macro minerals. 1 PDCM, that's right here. This is your rare earth minerals. And and I had oils up there, and I had the Vitanox and the Cruciferous Complete. That bottom section, if you want to clear that exogenous estrogen stuff out of your system, that's the extra stuff. Monsanto connected to at least 200,000 suicides in India throughout the past decade. This is this news you don't hear about. One farmer every 30 minutes commits suicide in India now, and sometimes 3 in one family. Explained this dude, I don't even know how to say that name, an Indian journalist in the UK Independent. Left with nowhere to turn and a complete loss of their livelihoods, many farmers are literally drinking Monsanto's pesticides to kill themselves. And since many of these suicides go unreported and unnoticed, actual rates could be even higher than what's really reported. So why so many suicides? When India's seed economy was forced by the World Bank to become globalized in the late 1900s, economic conditions within the nation's agricultural sector almost immediately went for the worse. They were forced to switch over to Monsanto's genetically modified Roundup-ready seeds. And they were forced to go use his equipment and follow his ways and pass his regulations, and these farmers couldn't afford it and pushed them into poverty, and they couldn't support their families. Very sad. All right, here's a movie clip I want to show here. A little 7-minute clip. It froze. You want to pause that there? I gotta skip through some chapters here. I had it set and all frozen on me.
It isn't cheap at all.
Anyone have any questions while I'm kind of skimming through some stuff here?
Civilizations rise and fall
Yes, I have heard that.
based on how they treated dirt. The American Midwest was known as the breadbasket of the world. Across the prairies, using modern industrial machinery, farmers removed native grasses to plant a single crop over millions of acres. This seemingly efficient system of farming, called monoculture, worked in the short term, bringing record yields and profits.
Monocultures don't produce more, they produce less. Monocultures produce nothing for the soil. The idea that we are increasing soil fertility and agricultural productivity through industrial monocultures is one of the biggest lies.
What the farmers didn't realize was that they were killing their dirt by destroying its root structure. After years of severe drought, fierce winds picked up whatever remained of the topsoil and just blew it away, leaving the dust bowl in its wake.
The Dust Bowl was an event not quite on the same scale, but getting up to comparable to what happened after the last ice age. We made a really big change in the landscape just by bad farming practices.
A third of our topsoil we've lost in the last 100 years. It's the problem of agriculture. It's the way we do agriculture now.
If you look at the landscapes today, we have millions and millions of hectares of monocultures of one variety. One species, one variety. All these monocultures are actually going to collapse under climate change scenarios, especially in drought situations.
Lo que predomina en este momento es la soja transgénica. la escala de la provincia de Córdoba, entonces entra a pensar qué está pasando con los suelos de Córdoba.
The more we grow monocultures, the more vulnerable our systems are. So we need to diversify the systems. For example, in the winter here, sometimes we grow broccoli with fava beans. If a frost comes, the broccoli dies, the fava bean remains. It's very resistant to frost. If you have corn and beans and sorghum and a drought comes, the sorghum will remain. Everything else will collapse. So you don't put all the eggs in one basket.
We have this one species planted for miles, and it's a all-you-can-eat restaurant for pests. So once a pest learns to unlock the key and get into one kind of plant, and you've got that plant planted for miles around, it can open every single plant, okay? And so that's how pest epidemics get going, so then we add pesticides.
And those chemicals deplete the life of the soil. They take away the structure of the soil. They take away the water of the soil. They take away the very organisms that make for soil fertility.
Essentially, insects and plants are so like us physiologically, cell to cell, gene to gene, protein to protein, that if it's going to kill plants and if it's going to kill insects, it's going to kill us too.
What this system produces is food empty of nutrients but loaded with toxics. We weren't designed to eat that kind of diet.
Industrial farming practices have robbed the soil of its nutrients and created a huge demand for nitrogen fertilizer.
When we pump those nitrogen fertilizers into the soil, we're not just killing the life of the soil. This is mobile nitrogen.
Only about 20% is taken up by the plant. Some of it goes to the water tables, and the rest goes into rivers.
In the American Midwest, the excess nitrogen flows into streams, down the Mississippi River and into the Gulf of Mexico. The nitrogen then feeds giant blooms of algae that suffocate nearly all marine life, creating a massive dead zone where only jellyfish can thrive. This mobile nitrogen also combines with oxygen to form nitrous oxide, which floats up to the atmosphere, accelerating climate change.
25% of greenhouse gas emissions are coming from an agriculture that has become a war against the soil. For 2 seasons, 3 seasons, they'll get a soya harvest, then they'll abandon it like a desert and cut down another 100,000 square miles.
Trees absorb pollutants, protect topsoil, prevent erosion, sequester carbon, and release oxygen.
The entire Brazilian rainforest is being cut down for expansion of soya.
We have always cut down forests to clear land for growing food. Now to and healthy soils. Here's my Acres magazine. Growing crops means doing many things right. Adding compost, manures, both green and brown, not overdoing it, underdoing it, tillage, rotating crops, growing a diversity of plants, balancing soil nutrients, and feeding the crops plenty of available calcium and balanced supply of at least 12 other minerals. It goes on to say here, copper is a good example that acts as a fungicide when applied at heavier doses. Kind of interesting. Now we kind of get into some of the real cool stuff here.
I'm going to lecture off this computer tonight, or raffle it off. So there's two big problems. Fewer minerals in the soil, less beneficial bacteria due to the chemical additives. Let's just go to the whole thing here. Dave, I didn't know I was going to do all that there. Here's the soil. The bacteria breaks down the minerals from the rocks and this other minerals in there. The plants absorb the minerals. The minerals from the plants go to the humans when we eat them. We want plant-based minerals in our diet. We don't eat rocks. We don't absorb rock-based minerals. Here's a percentage of the mineral depletion of the agriculture of the soils in the last 100 years. You can go right to the United States here. This is data published in the 1992 Earth Summit. 85% of the soil is depleted of the minerals. That's back in 92. Is that a little higher now, David? It's a little higher than that. That's pretty bad. The foods we're eating have no nutrients today. We're all starving, overeating, and we're overeating because we're craving those minerals that we're not getting anymore. Less minerals equals more pesticides, more damaged soil, less minerals. It's a nasty cycle. Agricultural pesticides may be associated with increased risk of prostate cancer. This because it gets in your system, mimics estrogen. This is the National Cancer Institute. Exposure of certain agricultural pesticides may be associated with increased risk of prostate cancer among pesticide applicators. This has been known forever. This is why we talk about clearing that out of your system with the Cruciferous Complete, the Nitro Greens. The women on the PGA Golf Tour, a lot of them have breast cancer issues because of those agricultural and pesticides on the golf courses that they breathe, inhale, and cannot clear out of their system. This is wreaking havoc on people here, and we're eating this in our foods. I'm going to show you how you can see who's getting whacked the hardest eating these foods with pesticides. Bugs want to eat the plants with less nutrients. Here's a key thing. If you could raise a plant and get it rich and full of minerals, the insects leave them alone. The insects want to eat the garbage. You don't get any minerals in those plants, and they'll tear it apart. I'm going to show and prove to you tonight how the stuff we're eating is worthless. I got a device right here I'm going to show you later on. This is the Dirty Dozen. You may have heard of this. These are the fruits and vegetables that are loaded the most with pesticides. You got your peaches, apples, bell pepper, celery, nectarines, strawberries, cherries, kale, lettuce, grapes, carrot, pears. Every summer, all the people come in here juicing like crazy because they read this new book about juicing, complaining about all this nausea. Oh my gosh, left-sided pain and nausea is going to be your pancreatitis type of issues. That right there is from these fruits and vegetables. You could Google that list, the Dirty Dozen, and pinpoint that. The liver will take a beating all day long, but as soon as you push the pancreas over the edge, it's going to let you know. Yes?
That doesn't matter if you wash that in Ciprocedo, like my
No, that's in there. Yes, absolutely. Dr. Joel Wallach, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Thanks to Dave here, you guys are all getting a copy of that audio CD when you leave here today. Dr. Wallach was a naturopathic doctor and a veterinarian. He did thousands of autopsies on animals. He saw how mineral deficiencies affected both animals and humans. Farmers cannot afford dead livestock, so they had to add minerals to their food. If a cow died of an aneurysm, they add copper to the food. Died of a heart attack, they threw selenium in the food. Certain minerals and things that they put in the food, there's diseases that are in the human population that aren't in the animal population because they put the minerals in the food to subside those degenerative diseases there. Your pet's IMs probably has more nutrients and minerals than what your food at home does, sadly to say. There's 91 things you need to obtain in your diet because your body does not manufacture it. It doesn't matter if you eat organic, how well balanced you eat. The minerals aren't in the soil. It's not going to be in the plants. It's not going to be in your diet. And this was their warning. Senate Document 264, back in 1936, was written by Rex Beach and submitted as a part of congressional investigation into our farming practices because of concern about how the quality of our farm and arranged soils. The leading authorities of the day had been sounding the alarm that the depleted soils were causing a significant decline in the nation's health and statistically and steadily increase in the incidence of degenerative diseases throughout the society. That was in 1936. That was our first warning right there. Goes on to continue. Laboratory tests prove that the fruits and vegetables and grains and eggs and even the milk and meats of today are not what they were a few generations ago. It goes on to say, no man today can eat enough fruits and vegetables to supply his system with the mineral salts he requires for perfect health because his stomach is not big enough to hold them. Not big enough to hold them. We're eating more, we're craving more foods because we're not getting the minerals. It's not in the food unless you supplement with them. Fewer minerals in soil result in weaker plants, less resistance to insects, mold, and cold, more pesticides, chemicals to keep the bugs away. Food doesn't taste as good, and since it doesn't taste as good, more sugar is added to the food to make up for the lack of taste there. Crops with more minerals always taste sweeter. More deficiency diseases, more birth defects, more obesity. You know what's very cool? Being a chiropractor, I could look at someone's x-ray and see little congenital defects that shouldn't be there, little connecting parts in the vertebrae and stuff, and I'll ask them, how many kids are in your family? They'll be like, 5. Were you the runt? Yeah, how'd you know that? Your mom didn't have enough minerals for you, so you got this little congenital defect in your vertebrae. You got this little connecting point or an extra vertebrae or a missing link that shouldn't be there, and that's all a mineral deficiency. They'll be like, oh my gosh. Very cool things, little mineral deficiencies like that. There's 91 things you need to obtain through your diet. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids. All the women who go through postpartum depression after having a kid, their baby steals all their DHA from their brain and leaves them with nothing. They don't get enough essential fatty acids in their diet to support them and their baby. All your hypoglycemics out there going through your raging fits and sugar fluctuations aren't getting enough protein in your diet. That's your amino acids. And like Dr. Linus Pauling said earlier, vitamins are absolutely worthless without minerals. And the 60 minerals you need, you're not getting because 85% of the soil is depleted of the mineral content. How do you put the minerals back in the soil? Two simple ways. Wood ash and composting. Spreading that around, getting that back, soaking that up in there. Simple stuff. If you want to talk to David afterwards, he's got some secrets on his organic farming techniques of why and how he wins these contests where he lives at. Senate Bill S510, according to the latest U.S. Senate bill, it would be illegal to grow, share, trade, or sell homegrown foods in the U.S. Under U.S. Senate Bill S510 here, Homeland Security personnel can raid our backyards and organic food stores on gunpoint in search of raw foods. This is scary because this was signed. I don't know how far this is going to go, but this is already in effect. They flew this under the radar. Yes. I'm dead serious. Look that up. Longevity by country. From 1983 to 1999, life expectancy declined significantly in 11 countries for men, 180 countries for women. Countries with significant declines were consistent with regional trends in smoking, high blood pressure, and obesity. The life expectancy today is about 75.5 on average years of life. Who lives the longest? People in third world countries where there's no medical system. that a little ironic? No medical system. In those, what they call blue zones, they did a study. What does it take to live to be 100? Move, know your purpose in life, downshift, 80% roll, stop eating when you're 80% full. The decrease in caloric intake has been highly correlated in living longer. Plant power, more veggies, less processed food, red wine, your quercetin, your antioxidants with that. Beliefs, know your tribe. We always say, secrets of the centritarians, eat like your ancestors ate. If you're Italian, eat Italian. If you're Eskimo, eat Eskimo food. If you're Mexican, eat Mexican food. We get all these foreigners in office. Try eating American food. All these GI disturbances that we see in the office, all these gallbladder attacks. Like, holy crap, what's in the food? Don't eat American. Eat your Albanian food. Eat your Turkish food. Eat the foods that are, your ancestors ate. And they ate things that were in season. Today you could get a tomato all year round now, but what's in that tomato? Who knows? That genetically modified stuff is not recognized as your body as real food and will kill off your good bacteria in your gut, along with the antibiotics and the meats and all this stuff. So we're all taking a whacking here. The biggest nutrients lacking in our diets: zinc, magnesium, thiamine, B vitamins, and your omega-3 oils. And another thing I want to say a little bit on that longevity thing here. Dr. Wallach did a study back in 1895 of these medical doctors. The reason he named this Dead Doctors Don't Lie is he did a study on how long they lived on average by studying these obituaries, and it was 54.6 years old. You may have heard someone saying way in the past, or heard along the lines, medical doctors lived to their mid-50s, and that's a myth, blah, blah, blah. They got the best medical care, yada, yada. No, that was absolutely true, and you got to look that up. That was pulled from Dr. Wallach from those obituaries, and he did a study back in 1993, did another one, and it's 57.6, a little bit higher up there. That's why he named it Dead Doctors Don't Lie. They've scared everyone away from cholesterol. All these people, these centritarians, had a high-fat, high-protein diet. Your brain's half fat, half cholesterol. You function on fat and protein. I want you to Google, all these people scared of cholesterol, you go ahead and you go Google the French paradox. The French eat a ton more fat than any American in their diet, and yet they have less heart attacks, stroke, and cancer. And yet we treat everyone in here like they have Lipitor and aspirin deficiencies. It's embarrassing. You don't find too many vegetarians that live over 100 years old either. That cholesterol and fat's a building block to the body. Alzheimer's and dementia is a physician-caused disease. Take enough statins, suck all that DHA out of that brain. Tell them to go live on a low-fat diet. Watch that memory tank. Get a flu shot every year. Get that mercury in your system. Oh yeah, you'll be in that nursing home no time soon. B vitamins, I'm going to go through every single one, how you can pinpoint this. I'm going to go through all the stuff we see in this office. This is real life stuff here. This is Dr. Royal Lee of Standard Process. He saw this in the late 1920s. Americans face a new health threat, coronary heart disease. Dr. Lee knew that vitamins and other nutrients were removed from flour and rice by commercial milling, and he believed that this had a bearing in the subject of heart disease. All this stuff that's fortified, processed foods, stuff that's pulled out, he thought that they put it back in because they said it was fortified. The quality's not there. He saw this way back then. Let's go to zinc. These things you can see on people's nails. These little white dots on people, can you all see that here? It looks like little white freckles on people's nails. That's a zinc deficiency. That right there is a zinc deficiency. These are symptoms of zinc deficiencies: acne, alopecia, anemia, allopathy, anorexia, birth defects, brittle nails, depression, diarrhea, enlarged prostate, loss of taste and smell. All the older folks we get in this office that complain, I have no taste, I can't smell anything. We do a zinc taste test, give them a liquid zinc. If they cannot taste that zinc, they're deficient in zinc. We can look at their nails. Sometimes they get the white dot, sometimes they don't, but a zinc taste test is the simplest way to determine if they have a zinc deficiency. All these little kids that aren't growing, not having their growth spurts, lack of growth in children, zinc unblocks that hypothalamus in their brain. I'm probably the reason my youngest brother is a little taller than me, because I had him on zinc in glandular pituitary gland to spurt his growth. We have kids doing this at the office because they're not getting the nutrients from the food. We got to tell mom and dad, you want foods that are raised and grown. And even if it's grown, you're probably still not getting all the minerals, so you need to start using your minerals here. Got a very cool story. I'll talk about this PDCM supplement a little bit later here. Got two cool stories here with that. That's the zinc story. It's not in the food. That's one of the biggest nutritional deficiencies. Magnesium. Here's your soil, plants, acid rain fertilizer, soil use. Soil, if it's not in the soil, gets to the plants, not in the plants, raised there, gets to the man right there. Bad diet habits, absorption malfunctions, whether it's a gluten issue with malabsorption, diseases, medicines. People get magnesium deficiencies. We use a lot of this with cardiac issues. I know doctors that know that patients aren't getting their magnesium through oral supplementation because they check it on blood work, they're supplementing with it, they're not absorbing it, they got to give them IV doses of magnesium. Very interesting stuff, but magnesium works as a calcium channel blocker for the heart and relaxes the heart. If we don't do too much for high blood pressure, vitamin D and magnesium actually work excellent. I've had great results with my patients using simple minerals and vitamin D. Here's some other things with magnesium: asthma, anxiety, anorexia, birth defects, calcification of the arteries, confusion, hyperactivity, menstrual migraines, high blood pressure, seizures, sudden infant death syndrome, tachycardia there. The tachycardia, that's just where that calcium's gonna, or the magnesium's gonna relax the heart.
These are the results if you don't get enough magnesium?
Yes. Don't have to have them all, there's some. We switched over using MG-zyme to magnesium orotate. Constipation works. People dealing with constipation, magnesium works as a stool softener to the gut. It draws water to the large intestine and helps you go. That's another thing we use it here for. Thiamine. I could walk through this crowd, feel all those crummy pulses, weak, irregular pulses. You've drained your thiamine. Thiamine's a B vitamin. It's water soluble. You drink too many alcoholic drinks, too many coffees. If you're on a Lasix water pill, if you're eating too many carbs and sugars, you're going to drain that thiamine. You're going to have a weak, skipping, irregular heartbeat. We set a lot of heartbeats back in rhythm using Cardio Plus and thiamine right here. Simple stuff. Feeling that heartbeat. Yes. In some cases, we can fix that heartbeat there. Too many thiamine metabolizes sugar, so if you have too much sugar, you're going to drain that thiamine, and that B vitamins aren't in the foods today. Here we go, the goiter belt, iodine deficiency areas. Look at this whole section right here. That's the whole north right here. It's not in the soil. You can live on the coastal area through here and go in the ocean and just breathe the air and get your source of iodine, just breathing it. A lot of hypothyroidism issues in the north here because it's not in the soil, yet they want to treat you like you've got a thyroxine, armor, synthroid deficiency. Iodine powers the thyroid. Iodine powers the thyroid. Highly correlated with IQ too. We might use iodine with a lot of kids here too. The medical world has known about this belt for over 50 years, and they attribute it to the low iodine content in the soil. Lack of iodine in diet causes low thyroid and goiter. If you don't have enough iodine, the thyroid will swell and you get that little goiter thing going on here. The Great Lakes region. The problem with this old hypothesis about the connection between the iodine and goiter in the U.S. required for years of salt in the diet in the Great Lakes. They thought that they were getting enough, but they weren't. More iodine. They don't recognize it, you know, in blood work, you know, when people are, I've fixed a bunch of thyroids with people on Synthroid, Armor, and they're struggling to get their numbers in range. We could work around a lot of what doctors do and put you on medicine using simple minerals. And iodine, people aren't getting enough iodine. And especially in the north, because it's not in the soils, plus too many people are taking their showers and drinking chlorinated tap water, chlorine, fluoride, and bromide in the plastics are going to push iodine out of your system. All the women that have lumpy, bumpy breasts, fibrosing issues, cystic ovaries, don't have enough iodine. We fix those all day long. The breast, the thyroid, and the ovaries use the most iodine in the body. When you do too much caffeine, you're going to push that iodine out of your body, and caffeine's going to go where iodine should go. That's why you get the lumpy, bumpy breasts, the cystic ovaries, the goiter, the hypothyroidism stuff. Simple iodine things. Dr. Brownstein's got some great books on the whole iodine stuff there. Calcium deficiencies. You got arthritis, back pain, Bell's palsy, bone spurs, brittle nails, calcium deposits, PMS, tooth decay. When your body's starving of calcium, it's going to pull it from your teeth. Dr. Tent had a very interesting past with his teeth. He was starving for nutrients, and it pulled it from his teeth. Pica, growing pains, osteoporosis, things of that nature here. I had a patient in the other day, adjusted, he's 33 years old. I'm muscle testing him. We pulled his x-rays. His x-rays were absolutely perfect. I look at him, I'm like, how long he had his back pain? He's like, forever. Came in for back pain and some alcoholic issues and this and that. How am I going to know if someone's deficient on calcium? There's a muscle test right in the front. Thumbs forward is a calcium deficiency reflex. Thumbs up's a gout reflex. Fix a ton of people with gout. Certain medications will push people in gout, but all the people with the knee pains, ankles, growth spurts, pounding too much pop's got that phosphoric acid that strips the calcium from your bones, that reflex will be completely weak, and I can muscle test how many calcium that someone tests for between the whole family and all their kids, and I could tell the mom which one drinks the most pop without her telling me. It's kind of cool. Anyways, this gentleman was in with low back pain. His x-rays look perfect. I go, your x-rays look better than mine. I'm like, what's wrong with your back? He's like, oh, just got the pain, blah, blah, blah. Kind of wasn't talking too much. Calcium reflux was perfect. I was kind of surprised. I knew he lost his minerals. Alcohol's a diuretic. You will pee your minerals away. You know, when you're constantly peeing and peeing and peeing, your urine's clear. Alcohol sends a signal to your pituitary gland, the posterior part, and it releases that hormone, that antidiuretic hormone, and you start peeing all your vitamins away. He completely lost his minerals. There's a mineral reflex right on the nose. It's a hydration and a mineral reflex. I put him on trace mineral B12, which I have one of those to go away with one of you guys here tonight, and Ligoplex 2 to help maintain his adjustments. I told him you're going to get a real adjustment today. We put you on simple minerals, and you're going to ease up on the bottle there, and you'll hold your adjustment like you never did before. He came from some other chiropractor that was adjusting him 3 times a week because he can't hold his adjustment. That's why I love practicing the way we do here, because when you attack the nutritional component, you maintain your adjustment. Simple, cool stuff. Iron deficiency. Look at your nails. They should be nice, pink, rosy, and red. When it looks like someone's pressing on your nail, press on your nail and it's white. If it looks like that with no one pressing on that, that's an iron deficiency. These people are cold all the time. Cold during the summer. Constantly cold, cold, cold. Anemia, anorexia, symptoms, brittle nails, confusion, constipation, depression, dirt eating, which is a form of pica, fatigue, fragile bones, ice eating. These people love to eat ice, constantly eating ice chips. These are your cold people. We use fair food. B12 to boost the hemoglobin in the blood, and caps to boost the blood quality. Those three things to strengthen that blood count. You could see that in the nails. Absolutely see that kind of stuff in the nails here. Now I want to go back. I'm going to screw that up doing this here. I got a very cool story about that here, but before I jump into that here, I could walk through a crowd of people and pinpoint these mineral deficiencies in people. Absolutely walk through a crowd of people and see those little eye twitches. Those little twitches is a calcium deficiency. Look at people's nails, iron deficiencies, the little specks there, little simple deficiencies like that. But that's not going to be in this crowd because you guys are all Dr. Jeff and Dr. Tent patients and you guys piss excellence, right? Other deficiencies that we play a lot at the office is chromium. Deficiency, symptoms of chromium, ADD, ADHD, anxiety, hyperinsulinemia. All these insulin-resistant people need that chromium. All these diabetic issues. You don't see these diseases in animals unless you're feeding your animal all this human food. Then they start getting all these human diseases, and you got to start doling out all this real money to fix your pets. Feed them those IMs. They have more minerals than your food does. Other deficiencies that we treat a ton of, potassium. Potassium deficiencies, you'll have pounding of the heart, tightening of the throat, that sympathetic dominant reaction. My first mineral deficiency I ever played on myself was a potassium deficiency. I thought I was having a heart attack in college. One night I was just lying in my bed and my heart was just thumping through my chest. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I couldn't tell if it was my anxiety pushing my heart or my heart was pushing my anxiety. I wanted to eat, I was eating bananas every day. I was eating bananas that were more green than yellow because I want that rich potassium. I never put that together. Potassium dilates and relaxes the heart. Calcium makes it pound harder. Simple things. People that, when they swallow pills and they're wound up and they're tight and they feel like things get stuck in the middle of their throat, that's a potassium deficiency. Tachycardia, fast heart rate, that's a potassium deficiency. Simple little things here. This next mineral is very cool, and I gotta talk about this here. Miracle mineral of the brain. Numerous studies have found that this common mineral heals by stimulating the growth of new brain cells and protecting the brain cells from every known neurotoxin. It has been shown to reduce any incidence of violent crime, homicide, suicide, and drug addiction while preventing the brain from shrinking and memory loss that otherwise occurs naturally with age, as well as helping people with alcoholism, Alzheimer's disease, depression, Parkinson's disease, stroke, cluster headaches, and traumatic brain injury. I got a very personal story to tell you. I lost both my grandparents last year. My mom, which is sitting right there, raise your hand. I told her I wouldn't call her up here. Is a nurse. And I said, Mom, I think this may help you during these rough times here. Try this out. Looks at it. Being a nurse, she is lithium. This is for crazy people. I research this stuff. I don't need this. This is for crazy people. She tried it for 2 days. Got a party going on over here. A Jewish party. We're all invited afterwards to go crash their party. Anyway, she started taking this Lyzyme Forte that we use at the office here. I know, this is pretty bad, ain't it? Sharon, go crack that whip on them. Anyways, she researched it. She used it for a few days. She said my stomach hurt. I was like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt. She's like, yeah, it does. So I threw the rest of it away. So I'm like, all right. So I got to get this. You know when you're trying to help out loved ones, you wish you could just give them the suppository form and shove it up their rear end and use it. I didn't have to do that, but I got a bottle of Chondrosamine Plus, dumped it out, put the Lyzyme 40 in it. Mom, this is for your joints. I think it'll help out your joints. Take that. All right. A month or two later, how's your joints? Feeling about the same. No, they probably should because that's not for your joints. She's like, really? What is it? I'm like, that's that Lyzyme Forte that you said was hurting your stomach. She's like, what? And she said something that's very intriguing to me. She's like, you know, I cannot believe you mentioned that because with me losing both my parents this year, She said, I felt like I was going to have thought I would have a nervous breakdown and completely lose my mind, and I didn't, and I could not contribute it to what I was doing. You know, once in a while I'd have to have some Xanax to calm down or whatever it was, and she's like, I never was popping that as much, and she's like, I could not contribute it to what I was doing. She's like, that's what was in that pill? She has not stopped that since, have you? This pill is vegetable culture. What you don't use, you pee right out. Lithium carbonate that they use in the hospitals deposits in the kidneys and causes renal failure. It goes on to say here, a 10-year study in Texas found that the incidence of rape, homicide, suicide, burglary, and drug addiction significantly were lower in the areas where water contained that lithium. I had a guy in today. He's like, I can't sleep at night. I sleep for 2 hours. I wake up at the same time. I use medical marijuana to try to sleep, but I still wake up. He's like, I can't shut my mind off. I can't shut my mind off. Those are lithium people, the busy mind people. If your mind feels like it's on 5 different TV channels at once instead of one, it's those people. These people tend to be great multitaskers because they can think up a story and do their thing. You sit them in a quiet room by themselves, they're going to think themselves to death. I gave him this talk, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. We see this on a hair analysis too. It's got a lithium content. You'll be able to see that low content on a hair analysis too. More reasons to check that out there. Signs of lithium deficiency: ADD, depression, infertility, high sugar consumption, manic depression, rage and fits. We don't have that on the roads today, do we? Reduced growth rates, reproductive failure, shortened lifespan. Very cool mineral. Awesome, stellar home runs that we're getting with this product. Absolutely stellar. We use this with kids. Lyzyme Forte, right there. 2 to 3 a day is perfectly fine. Come in, get muscle tested. You know, everyone's dose is a little different. The kids that have the hyperactive brain that can't slow them down, this is what slows it down. Use that, some oils, some DHA, some GABA. The kids that are slow and dumb that need the stimulant of Adderall, you're going to use more ginseng products and super saline and other things there. 2 different ways to play that brain. Everyone's brain's different. You want to know how yours runs? Google the Braverman assessment, take that true and false test, and you'll find out which neurotransmitter in your brain's more dominant: serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine, or acetylcholine, serotonin, GABA. What's the other one I'm missing? Someone wins something here. The 4 neurotransmitters in your brain. I'm having a brain stump. In your brain, you got GABA, which calms your brain, acetylcholine, serotonin, and dopamine. Those 4 neurotransmitters. Take that Braverman assessment, and you'll be able to see which one's your dominant neurotransmitter and why you may be drawn to eat certain foods the way you do, because certain foods encourage certain neurotransmitters in your brain. The Braverman assessment. People that love that coffee in the morning, that gives you a dopamine push. Well, all these kids I get in the office that are on drug addictions. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, we got our hands full with some of these kids that come in our office with some drug addictions. I want to know how their brain works. If they're more doing alcohol and marijuana to slow their brain down, they're more GABA deficient. If they're doing more cocaine, methamphetamines, pills and stuff to get that going, they're deficient on acetylcholine and that dopamine. Everyone's brain's different. People who have lived through the 70s here, you may be drawn to doing different things. Take that test. You'll know why. You'll understand. Salt lick. All right. I'm going to blaze through the rest of this here. Salt lick. This is what the farmers put on the farms here so the animals could get their minerals. They don't tell them, hey, have 1 or 2 licks, because if you have any more than that, you're going to get high blood pressure, and you don't have 4 licks because your blood pressure goes up because of salt. That's an absolute myth. Very few people are salt sensitive. with salt there in their blood pressure. Sugar drives up your blood pressure, not salt, sugar. And this is what happens right here if you don't have that salt lick out there. The cows and the horses start eating the size of the pen here. Kids down here, this is called pica, mineral deficiencies in kids. They put inanimate and frogs in their mouth like this kid here. We have 2-year-olds coming in office. Mom's like, they put all this stuff in their mouth. Your child's trying to tell you something. It's deficient in minerals. Simple PDCM, putting that in that child, completely stopping them from putting all this crap in their mouth. That's pica. PDCM. And I'll go right, I got a slide on that there too. I have a very cool story I need to get out here about these 2 premature twins in that one product right there. Salt's essential for your health here. When you go to the hospital, that IV bag that they stick you on is 0.9% sodium chloride, which is your salt, and 5% dextrose. You need sugar or salt to hydrate that cell. Water alone does not cross in that cell without either salt or sugar. Simple osmosis here. The Japanese eat a ton more salt in their diet and don't have those cardiac issues like we do here. When you sweat, you don't sweat out just Gatorade minerals. You sweat out all your minerals. I'm going to get into that here too. I'm going to kill a whole bunch of people this summer. Actually, I'm not. Your doctors are going to kill a whole bunch of people this year. You know how they're going to kill some people during the summer? They're going to put them on beta blockers to slow down their heart. They're going to put them on water pills to pee out all their minerals and salt. And they're going to tell them to stay on a low-salt diet. Stick someone like that out in the sun for about 20 minutes and under heat. They'll drop real soon. You know, I want to talk about some football stuff here. Chicago Bears and the Green Bay just played. They're both 2 cold weather teams. They love the cold. They play great in the cold. The second, third week that they play in the regular season, it's still hot outside. And if you watch the fourth quarter of the game, none of them can make it through the fourth quarter of the game because they sweat all their minerals out and they cramp and they can't make it through the rest of the game because of the cramps. When you sweat all your minerals out. Most of these athletes don't even live the normal expectancy of life because they sweat out all their minerals and get degenerative diseases and die younger than the regular population, yet they're supposed to be the strongest, right? Everyone wants to say these athletes are so strong today. No, they're not. They're weaker and weaker than ever today. I'll get a little bit more into that here. Real salt is Celtic salt right here, dirty gray. It has the minerals. Table salt is pure white because it has no minerals. It's been bleached and no minerals in it. You need to use real salt. Real salt.
Does that Celtic sea salt have all the required minerals, or are all the minerals?
It has not all the required minerals, but it's got a ton of minerals in it.
How much do you take?
Some people that have the swelling in the legs and hands, we tell them to go nuts on that. We might even use salt pills with them. It's funny because they'll put someone on a water pill, LASIK, try pushing water out of them, and tell them to stay away from salt while we fix them with salt. It's kind of funny. PDCM here. Here's your minerals right here, rare earth minerals. Many different ways to get those 91 things here. This is how we get ours. We had a patient in office, 2 premature twins. Hand size. The doctor said both of them are going to be smaller in their size compared to the rest of the kids their entire life. One's going to be mentally retarded, and another one might be slow. Maybe, maybe not. The mom gave the child the PDCM capfuls for 4 months. Normal to mountain size. They're about 2.5 years old right now. They're being evaluated for being geniuses. Simple minerals we're not getting in our foods today. Today's athletes, Jim Fix, dead at age 52, wrote the book, the complete book of running here, right here. Reggie Lewis died at age 27, basketball player, heart attack. Fitness does not equal health. 3 runners in the Detroit Marathon died age 36, 65, and 26. People don't have enough minerals in their diet and in their body to uphold doing a marathon. Mr. Walk would probably say that's a selenium deficiency. Minerals uphold your bones, your ligaments, your tendons, your muscles. The first week of every football thing, baseball, basketball, this and that, all you hear is rip, tear, pull, this, that, out for the season. And yet they're like, no, man, these athletes are strong. No, they're not. Manganese, which is the main product in Ligaplex 2 that we use with a lot of these athletes and people, upholds the integrity of your ligaments. That's the first thing I probably would put on Matt Stafford, the quarterback for the Lions. His shoulder's completely done. If he doesn't start getting some minerals back in his diet, he's not going to last too long. These people are mineral deficient. When you recognize this stuff, you could walk through crowds of people and pinpoint this stuff. It's pretty easy. Right here, Uriah Faber, he had a fight. This is a UFC guy right here. You can see his broken wrist right here. He had 2 broken wrists in the first round of a 5-round match. He overtrained. He lost his calcium. Could have muscle tested him with that calcium reflex. Guaranteed he would have been weak. Someone that strong and training that hard to break his wrist in the first round of a fight, overtrained, lost his calcium. This guy's got a lot of heart, though. He was throwing elbows to finish that fight. Absolutely unbelievable. Miguel Ordonez, out 6 to 8 weeks. ESPN, it was July 2010. Slid it in the holding base, broke his ankle. Calcium deficiency. It's unbelievable, a simple little slide and breaking a bone like that. All right, here's a Brix meter. I told you I was going to prove to you that things we're eating are nothing but junk. I got a good quality one from eBay. You put your vegetable juice, a few drops on it right through here, clamp that down, and you'll see something like this. A little measurement device. Oranges, your produce, look in the light, it'll tell you right where that level's at. It's called a Brix meter, refractometer. This is how I could prove to you the stuff you're eating is nothing but junk. It has no minerals. I don't care if it's organic, I don't care if it was grown here or there. The higher Brix content, the higher minerals in that food. David has got a very expensive Brix meter that outdoes this here, but this does it enough for me to prove the stuff you're eating is worth nothing. Mainly fruits and vegetables with this here. And if you go right here, this is small reading here, but it goes through all the fruits and vegetables. And when you clamp that and you look at that reading, the first thing I did was pull some pineapple out of my fridge, squeeze the juice on that, put that right down there, and it'll give you a reading on there. If it's poor, it's 6. If it's average, 10. Good, 14. Excellent, 18. If your food that you're eating is high in minerals and good content, you're going to be in that good and excellent range. I'm not going to tell you where I went to get this pineapple. It ranked poor. So I'm doing my own little study and having fun going to these stores, checking out the foods. Because the foods we're eating have no minerals, and that's your way to prove it. Kind of cool stuff here. I don't care what I eat because I'm supplementing and getting my 91 things, so I could go to McDonald's or KFC one day and I'm all good because I'm getting my 91 things from other places here. Tomatoes with high mineral content will sink in water. Tomatoes with no minerals will float on the water. Cool little thing. Thanks, David. If you get nothing out of this lecture, you fell asleep, I want you all to wake up right now to get this last thing in you. Sea animals are healthier than those on land. Maynard Murray. This guy sliced open whales to see an animal that lived in the salt water is largely blubber. Yet no signs of arteriosclerosis from clogged arteries. He autopsied dolphins and marine animals searching for organic degeneration. I saw a little sickness in the sea. In dissecting sea animals, whales and seals, no malignant diseases was found. Ocean animals never developed degenerative diseases that plagued man. Cancer, arteriosclerosis, diabetes did not exist in sea animals. You don't see cancer in animals because all the minerals that they obtain in the ocean in their diet. And pesticides and runoffs from farms aren't an issue like they are in lake fish. You don't see a beached whale in Florida come up and they'd be like, they did an autopsy on this beached whale and he had a heart attack. You don't hear that kind of stuff. They get their minerals. This is why we preach minerals heavily. The soil's depleted. We're all eating nutrient deficient diets here. You're not going to get your 91 things unless you supplement. I got some cool stuff to raffle off here. If you end up getting a Syra, you can go to syra.com. All this is bioenergetic testing. You hang on the 2 prongs, run some cool things, give you a homeopathic liquid there, some cool stuff. And when you all walk out, get one of the Best of Dead Doctors Don't Lie CDs there. If you want to fax over your orders, you can fax that over right to that number right there. And I'm going to raffle off some stuff here. Questions, comments, concerns, you can send it to the email right there. Thanks for coming out tonight. And I'm going to have Sharon come up here and you can cut that off there. We're going to raffle off some stuff here.